we kind of have these limitations that grow because of our experience in life, but they stop us from stepping into that next level. They become a protecting mechanism that stops us from growing into who we are meant to be.
Welcome to Reclaim Your Voice, the podcast for business owners who are ready to be heard, speak on stages and podcasts, and become genuinely known for what they do. I'm Savannah Madden, confidence and speaking coach for founder-led businesses, and I help you find your voice, own your expertise, and speak in a way that attracts the right clients and opens the right doors. Here we talk about finding your voice, building the confidence to share your message, and doing the real work that gets you recognised by the people you're meant to serve. If you've got something important to say and you want the world to actually hear it, you're in the right place. This is Reclaim Your Voice. Hello and welcome back to the show. Today's guest is a 4-time #1 bestselling author, identity alchemist, and mental health empowerment mentor who helps people break free from subconscious patterns, regulates their nervous systems, and create lasting transformation from the inside out. With a background in education and ongoing psychosomatic research exploring the connection between identity, language, and human behaviour, her work bridges science, psychology, and personal transformation. Her message is simple. When you change your identity, you change your life. Rachael Parland, welcome to Reclaim Your Voice.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm honoured to be here eventually, because I know it took us a little bit of time to come together, but thank you for having me. Thank you.
It's so great to have you. We've been talking to each other for a while now, trying to get this in the diary, haven't we? So I'm so pleased that we have managed to make it happen in a heat wave, no less. But here we are. We're doing it. So I have just introduced you. However, I would love for you to tell everybody who you are in your own words. If we've never come across you before, who you are, what do you do, who do you serve?
Okay, I will make it simple and understandable. Forgive me for my voice as well. The voice show and I lose my voice. Hey ho, I work with people who have a stroke, and it might be behavioural traits. Maybe they're doing things they don't want to do, or maybe they are not at that next level. Maybe there's something that they want, but they're just not able to get there. So I'm the bridge between the two. So if they're here and they want to be here, but they're struggling, I help them. I take them to that next level identity, because usually it's to do with programming or conditioning or traumatic experiences that are holding them back. And once they can break free from that narrative, that story, and we can reprogram, and then they can do whatever they choose to do. So that is my predominant work. That's what I do most of the time. But I've branched out also into working with children. My background is teaching, which you mentioned, and I have children. I have 4 children, and I see the struggles that they have with today's society, with school, the school system, and I just wanted to step in and help people, young children, on their journeys, working with their identity, with their confidence, with their belief systems. So I have a little program, and I work privately, and I'm going into schools to empower these children into knowing who they are and to help them with the beliefs. So that's what I do in a nutshell.
Is lovely, Rachael. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And I feel we're really aligned because I also work with children and with adults. I help young children with their confidence, and I help adults with their confidence. And you're doing the same thing, helping children with their beliefs and helping adults with their beliefs. It's absolutely incredible. So you referenced people that have had so many different things happen to them, but you particularly find yourself aligned with people who seem to be very capable and very driven, but they're still really stuck. So can you explain to us what's going on underneath that and how that manifests?
Yeah. When we're born as we are. We don't have any belief systems. We're kind of born. We actually don't get to choose either who we're born to, or, everything, religion, whether we're rich or poor, whether we're born in the north or south, all of these things form our identity. And we don't get to choose that. Even the packing order. I was the baby. So I was really lucky. I was pampered to death by my 3 sisters. But, my eldest sister had a different experience, because she had to be more grown up, I guess, look after us and all of those things, where I just laid back and had a chilled life, really. So all of these things get to form who we think we are. I thought I was the princess. because I was pampered to death. And then life throws us experiences, relationship, sometimes traumatic experiences, and trauma doesn't necessarily mean something big. It can be something really tiny. Like one that I like to use, because most people have probably experienced this, and this could even fall into what we do with confidence, putting the hand up in the class, raising their hand because they have the right answer or they think the right answer, and the teacher saying, that's not right. The whole class laughing and they feel ridiculed, which in turn stops them from speaking up when they are grown up. So all of these things that we accumulate, and nobody gets away with it, by the way. Not even they're like his child will have faced these little things that we then think, oh my goodness, I can't talk out because, the subconscious steps in. Next time we go to do those things, it steps in and protects us from making that same mistake. It's doing its job, basically. So we kind of have these limitations that grow because of our experience in life, but they stop us from stepping into that next level. They become a protecting mechanism that stops us from growing into who we are meant to be.
I think that is such a good example. When I say that it's so simple, I don't mean to degrade anybody's experience, because I definitely had that happen to me at school when I put my hand up to answer a question. I bet almost everybody can relate to that example. That's why it's so good. But it is as simple as raising your hand, thinking, yeah, I know what I'm saying. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about because I've learned this, or, I've got an idea or an opinion, and then being shut down or, as you said, ridiculed or dismissed. It's just so horrible, isn't it? So when you're working with adults, would you say a lot of their limiting beliefs and where they're really stuck come from childhood and, the beliefs and patterns that have sort of been put upon them? Or is it a bit of a mixture? Can it come from adulthood as well, in your experience?
Well, they say the majority will come between the ages of 0 and 7. That's when our brains were absorbing everything around us. And between the ages of 0 to 3, children are in a hypnotic state. They're taking everything in. They actually can't see the difference between them and you, kind of form a oneness, if you like. If somebody's shouting at mum, they actually believe it's them that they're being shouted at as well. They don't see that they're separate. We're all seen as a oneness, which is quite crazy when you look at spiritualness. So yeah, a lot of it is from men. And, when we're told, you clumsy child, or you're naughty, or why are you doing this? We start to believe those things. We start to create stories in our mind that, oh, maybe I am like that, and it becomes who we think. However, also you've got, you have got things in adulthood as well, because people get into relationships, and maybe relationships are not healthy, and, they're told that they're ugly or this. We can still create these beliefs, but they're probably layered upon layers upon layers. So when you're working on these things, it's like an onion, if you like. You're peeling off the layers because you will still get them. They're built on. They start here when you're small, but then as we grow and get further experiences that are very similar to those in the past, we're just building on past experiences.
So it's really a lot of people will experience things in their childhood, but it obviously can come at any time depending on your experiences. But I just really want to touch on the fact that you work with neurodivergent children as well as working with adults. And is there anything else that you see as like a common thread? What's the difference between young children who maybe haven't had as many things put upon them? Are they experiencing different things? And does it make any difference whether they're neurotypical or neurodivergent?
So with neurodivergence, so for example, in the schools, so my background, I wasn't really taught an awful lot about children's brains, very, very basic. So I might look at a child that they're naughty when they're actually not. So I've not been diagnosed with ADHD or anything like that. But when I look at my child and she tells me things, it was very similar for me. So when I went to university and I was lectured, it went over my head. I didn't have a clue what they were talking about. I was like, wow. So I would research my next module. And when I went into the lecture, I would then understand it. It would drop. My daughter will say, Mum, I look around and everyone's doing the work and I don't know what they're doing. And I'm like, oh, that sounds familiar. That's like me. So I've said, but when she asks, they'll go, we've just told you that. And then she's got to ask people what to do. So there is a struggle because I don't think there's an understanding around the difference in the brains. So where my daughter thinks she's stupid, why am I not grasping the concept of that? If she didn't have me telling her, maybe it's, obviously she's waiting for a diagnosis and probably going to have to pay for one. So it seems, but I say to her, it's not that your brain just works differently. But can you imagine some children who think they're daft, and not only that, back in the day when there wasn't these things, how they formed opinions of themselves that they're just daft or stupid, when really, quite frankly, they're not. They're super intelligent people with their own uniqueness, but they have this belief system that they formed because of people around them.
Rachel, I could talk about this all day. It's just so important that our young people just understand that their brains or whatever is going on, with them personally, that it is individual to every single person. But I mean, we could probably talk again all day about how the education system is not fit for purpose at the moment because it cannot cater for everybody's differing requirements and needs and all of that sort of thing. But I think that it's so interesting, though, that we have a case on our hands, shall we say, where there are so many people learning in different ways. And I'm so sorry to hear that your daughter has felt that she can't grasp things. And I totally identify with that as well. I did all right at school, but I definitely felt like there was so many times where I was like, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. And everyone else seems to look like they're smashing it. And I'm just sat here going, what is going on? Especially in maths. That was pretty turbulent for me as well.
So my son is okay. He's in a different school. He's got really smart, 10 people in his class. So if he doesn't grasp something, they will go over it again. And if he daydreams, they pull him back. He's got the support.
I think it's really important. And as I said, I think that we could probably do an entire podcast just about that subject. I'm very passionate about it as well. But I really want to ask you more about our subconscious and what's actually happening, when perhaps somebody is recognizing that they have these beliefs and these patterns and they really want to change, but something is just stopping them. So what's happening there? Like, what does our subconscious actually do to stop us from moving forward? You said earlier that it's doing its job to protect us, but can you go into a bit more detail?
Yeah. So if we go back to the raising your hand and putting your hand up and everybody laughing, your body will go into fight or flight during that period of time because it feels like it's in danger. So it's putting itself out there, first of all, then everybody's laughed and it's like, oh my God, your body goes into panic. And there's like a loop, if you like. You've got your nervous system. I don't want to go too technical, but it's like a loop. And if that loop isn't closed off, then that emotion is stored within the body. So children struggle to regulate themselves. Even my children regulate me. Because obviously there's times when sometimes, I'm a human being. Just because I teach this doesn't mean I don't go into fight or flight or stuff. And my children will go, come on, Mum, do the butterfly hold. And just saying it, it's okay. But if that loop isn't closed, that emotion is stored within the body. And it's a charge. It's got an emotional charge. So every time we face something that's similar, so let's say we're going into another experience where, my God, we're asked to speak up or read in a class. Let's go to the reading. Can you read in the class? Your body, not your mind, it's all stored in the body. Your body will remember that experience and go, absolutely flipping not. It will then go into the same response of panic, fight or flight, and your body will go, it's triggered because it remembers what happened last time. So you have to work on that experience. And instead of shutting it off, we have to release that trapped emotion from the body. We have to rewrite the narrative that's playing, which will be triggered every time you get that same experience. And we have to release it from the body because otherwise you will continue. And if you don't fix it, it will continue to the day you leave this plane and you will continue to have the same experiences over and over again. It's got to leave your body.
And when you're working with both children and adults, are you using the exact same techniques to help regulate the nervous system? You're just pitching it to them, as it were, in a different way to make that person understand it? regardless of their age, or have you got differing things for differing age groups?
I would adapt, and I do. I work intuitively, so I adapt. I work with people who are spiritual. Somebody might want somebody to come in. Whatever works. It's like, let's just go and let's just do what we do. With children, obviously, it is different. I can work on my child really easily. So there might be a point where my daughter's upset about something that's happened, and I don't have to go through the whole process. I can just close your eyes down, take me back to that moment, and I can take my child back to that moment and rewrite that memory there and then. She doesn't have to go through the whole process. If I don't feel that she does, I just work intuitively. Yeah, we work accordingly to what the person needs.
Lovely. And if you're working with an adult client, maybe on a one-to-one basis, can you give us a success story, an example of somebody who you've worked with where you've really been able to make some significant changes for them using the techniques that you use with the people that you support?
Yeah. Um, I'll use grief. And the reason why I use grief is because I've worked on grief myself quite a lot. So sometimes people feel stuck with grief. I can actually tell you 100 different stories in all different aspects. But I don't know why grief's come to my head because I'm thinking I do work with grief. It isn't my main thing, but it did come. So I'm sharing it for that reason. And sometimes people feel that they're just stuck in a loop of missing the person, which we always will, or maybe they had to say something to that person, at a moment of time. So we can work on grief. And, I have worked on grief. I've took people back to moments where the loved ones have left. Maybe they just had to get something off the chest, that loved one, a kiss, a love, whatever they wanted to do. And we can rewrite that narrative, write it so that they're programming. The memory that's stored is the memory that we've planted into the subconscious. So it's a better feeling. So they're not thinking, if only I did this, or if only I did that, or if only I did the other. So that one is grief. I'm going to give you one, maybe it's somebody who has had a money issue. And maybe they're bringing in 5K months into the business and they just can't get over that 5K months. So what they do, they've got something that's underlying. Maybe they're sabotaging it. Maybe they think they're not worthy. Maybe they think that if I get that extra, there's one person who thought if I become successful, my partner will leave me because I'll be more successful than him. That was the belief underlying. And when we worked on that programming, they jumped into that next level of revenue. So the glass ceiling was low because they thought the partner would leave them if they became more successful because he was successful, which wasn't true. So once we worked on that, he scooped up another level. And again, I think as well, Savannah, every time we hit a new level, we do have work to do. We do have work to do.
Absolutely.
Anxiety comes up for me sometimes. I had anxiety when I lost my child. But when I get into this next level, it rears its ugly head again. So I work on it again. And I think it's life. We're evolving. And every level we go to is something we need to work on.
They say, don't they? New level, new devil.
Yeah, they do. I've heard that. I've heard
Because
that.
it's so true, though. As soon as you level up, you're going to be handling more complex situations, potentially more scrutiny, more visibility, more cash flow issues. There could be a whole mountain of different things. And you could also have lots of positive success as well, which might feel incredibly overwhelming. There are so many things, aren't there? And the other thing I wanted to ask you, Rachael, is that you're doing research with a neuroscientist at the moment into the connection between language, identity, and behaviour. So can you share a little bit more about that? And is there anything that you've researched or found out that has surprised you?
Not surprised me, probably, because it's the work I do. At the moment, I'm doing anxiety. So I'm working with a neuroscientist, Abhijit, and he has done some tests with people with some of the work that I do. And you can actually see the brain shifting whilst in work. You can see the new neural pathways forming. So I don't really take any medication and my children don't. There is a place for medication, I'm sure, and I have taken it in the past. So there's no, if people need it, but sometimes it's a sticking plaster. So it's just a sticky plaster just to cover up what's going on in the body. And in turn, my truth is that it's going to come back and bite you. If we're pushing things down and suppressing our emotions, then sooner or later they're going to pop. So for me, there is a place for medication, but to use it as a sticking plaster for many, many years and things like that, I'm not sure it's a good, but again, that's my truth. So I am doing some research with anxiety, working on getting to the root cause. Why have you got anxiety? Where does it come from? Because the anxiety isn't the problem. That's the signal saying something's wrong, something's wrong. So when we work on what's creating that anxiety and we remove it at root level, things will shift. They won't get anxious anymore. So I've done 2 bouts of it. I think I'm going to do another bout because I had 120 people reach out and I could only see, I don't know whether it was 30 people because of times. I only work during school time. So it's a really short time. So I'm thinking, do I just go, hell, let's just go for it. Do it over a weekend, do it over an evening because it's over a set period of time. It cuts into my children's time. So I don't usually work during that time, but thinking, is that many people here that needed it? Do I just bend, get somebody in as childcare to look after them for 4 weeks to see these people through just to further the research data? And I'm probably going to do that. Just one last boot. Let's just do it and get this done. And then I'm going to move into different fields, grief, because that's a lot of my background, addiction, self-love, confidence, and I'm going to do one a year, I think, a different subject every year just to show people that there is a different way. And it's going to be written up in a medical journal or a psychiatric journal to prove that this stuff does work. It's an alternative to traditional therapy.
It's incredible. And I totally understand where you're coming from, where you don't want to eat into time with your children. I only work when my little one is at nursery as well. And however, I think there is a place sometimes for a short burst, as you just mentioned, just over a weekend or, just for a couple of weeks, little small moments of time or something, because this is absolutely fascinating and will have such a profound effect. And having that research will then enable other people to build upon it for the future. So I think it's like a really fantastic thing to invest your time into, if you see what I mean. But obviously it's your choice, Rachael. I'm just giving you what I think about it because it sounds amazing. I just want to touch on adults again. So for the adults that you work with, have you got any sort of physical sort of body shifts? So we talked about somebody that was plateauing at 5K months and they had a bit of a money mindset issue and thinking that their partner would leave. I thought that was a fantastic example. Have you got any more sort of like physical shifts that have happened with people when they sort of stepped into a new identity?
Physical shifts? Do you mean the way they feel, the way they look?
Yeah, how they carry themselves.
A session with somebody and they're like this. And when they come out, honestly, it's like shocking. It's like, wow. They're like a brand new shiny penny. And they'll say to me, wow, I feel really light. And I'll go, yeah, I know. Because you've just shifted a lot of rubbish from your body. And I can do energy clearing. So I can do a lot of things. I do a bit of shamanic practice as well. I've been on a priestess journey. So I love all that kind of stuff. Soul retrieval. So when I do things, it's kind of like a Rachael Parland speciality. You don't come to me for one thing. I'll dip in and out and do. Obviously, if people are okay with that, I won't just start cutting cords and blah. But you can see the difference. They're like, I love it when people cry because crying is medicine for the soul and it's a release of the stuff that we've been carrying so long. They just, honestly, I love it. I'm like, keep crying. When somebody cries, I know that it's working, and I know that when I see the difference in them, yeah, it is a physical appearance. You can see it. The shoulders are, yeah, you can see it clearly, how they come in and out of it. I should do that, before and after, 1.5 hours in between.
Just the way that you were explaining that as well, like even your body changed when you were explaining, your voice changed, because that must be the most rewarding part of what you do, is seeing the results. And it was just really interesting to ask that question and then see how you transformed as you were explaining it. It was really, really cool. Loved it. You can't fake that sort of stuff. It's just amazing. I just love how you just went into a bit more detail about the energy clearing practices that you have as well, and the shamanic practices. Thank you so much for sharing. So I love to ask people that come onto this show that if someone is listening right now and they're like, tick, tick, this is me. Yes, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. What would you say to them is the best thing to do now, where could they start? What's one small thing that they could do to get started to make them feel a little bit better as they start to transition into a new identity?
I started mine with books, actually. I know books are not going to change. But I got on the book. I read about 3 hours every night. Seriously, I love to read it. It's like book and bed is my highlight of my day. Books is a starting point.
It's a great starting point. Absolutely. Because it's a low investment, low entry point. If you're just like dipping your toe in, teetering, thinking, do I need to really speak to somebody? It's a way to build the confidence to, find out more about what it is that you could be going through. Have you got any book recommendations for us?
Loads. What don't even start me off. I'll tell you, I paid my son the other day to read The Monk That Sold His Ferrari. So sometimes it doesn't have to be a book of self-help. The Monk That Sold His Ferrari is his story. So that's the reason why I've shared that today, because not everybody wants to read a self-help book, but there's teachings in it. There's teachings where there's a monk telling the man what he should be doing. So this man is burnt out, which a lot of people are feeling burnt out at the moment with society. We're told to do more and do more and do more, but really we're doing a damage to ourselves. We should be more in being mode. So this man is a lawyer, burns out, blah, 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 goes looking for a monk, and he gets taught these lessons. So that's probably one of my favorite books, and it's readable because it's a story. So you can take readings from it. So a book, if you're a little bit further on in your journey, Celestine Prophecy is good. That's all about energy. Energy is massive. So learning about energy. And I think, you know what the book does? It starts you on that journey where you think, wow, I want to learn more. I want to go and be a Reiki practitioner, or I want to go and do it. So it starts you on the journey. So a book is the way to start, but there is a journey. It's not reading books and doing nothing. You have to take the steps, because the books will introduce you to new concepts, and then it's taking action to implement the new concepts. But we're building here. We're taking that next level step into growth. It's not just reading a book every night and doing nothing with the book. You have to take the action that comes with it.
Fantastic. That's a great piece of advice. Thank you. And I always ask our guests that come on the show, what does reclaiming your voice look like, Rachael? We've talked a lot about other people in this show today. In this episode, we've talked a lot about the support that you give to everybody else. But what about your journey? What has reclaiming your voice looked like on the way?
Holy macaroni. My journey's been heavy, really heavy, because it is a reclamation. It is a reclamation. It's a reclamation, and it's remembering who we were before all these things got in our way. And this is life, right? Life is life. Life is polarity. It's the good, bad, and the ugly. And it is. And it's learning how to manage that. Because nobody's life is rosy. It really isn't. And sometimes you look at these people on social media and think, wow, they've got it all together. And quite frankly, nobody has. Nobody has. So my journey, I had a really great job. I did. I was really successful on the outside. Before I was a teacher, this way back when I was 16, I'd worked all my life. I had really good money. I had my house at 20. Everything was great. But I was successful on paper, but inside I wasn't. When I look back, I just think, my goodness me, I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't, I had everything that I needed, but I wasn't really happy. And then sadly, I lost my child, which was a really difficult time for me. As you can imagine, well, I don't want you to imagine, don't even want you to imagine. It was a really, really rough ride, and my identity changed overnight. It was like I was now the mother of a child that was no longer. Everything just went like this. And there's two paths in life, always. The path to growth or the victim road, I guess. And I don't know how I did it. I do know how. Of course I know how. I took that path of growth. And I could have been here, but I swam and I swam. And don't get me wrong, I kept going under. It was boom, 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 boom. And again, books was my start. I just absorbed myself in books. Buddhism, The Monk That Sold His Ferrari, The Magician's Way. Every book I read, where a mother lost a child. And do you know what? These mothers were worse than I was, because they weren't with the child, I was. So I kind of started to find a little bit of peace that my child was with me in my arms. Some of these women didn't know where the child, it's kind of like I was finding it positive. I was reframing, if you like. There's never anything going to be positive out of that. I'd go back tomorrow and of the life that I had if I could have him back, but I'm never going to get that. So I have to face it. And went on a spiritual journey that helped. Soul contract for anybody out there that will know what that means. That's got me through. And then I thought, I had therapy, of course. And then I thought, you know what? I want to help others. Everybody gets to live this good life because I began to live a good life again. And I'd pinch myself and go, wow, how have I got here? So I trained in everything. And boy, did I train. Years and years of training. And I want to help others because life is for living. Life is for living happy. You know, we all get this choice in life and it's all available to us all. And I just think that if I can do it, then anybody can do this. Anybody can do this. And that is a real journey.
Thank you so much for sharing, Rachael. I really, really appreciate all your honesty, and the journey you've been on just sounds amazing. And trying to keep it together, even though it shouldn't be me that's getting emotional. But, you know, it's just, it's just really great to hear how you've turned such a heartbreaking, life-changing experience and put it into something that just is producing so much wealth and health and more happiness in the world, because that's exactly what we need. But I feel like this is where we're going to wrap things up now, because I'm sure lots of people are going to want to come and connect with you and read your books as well. So where can we connect with you on socials? Where can we purchase all 4 of your books? So where can we connect with you?
I would say the best place to connect with me would be on Facebook, because that's where I'm probably more active. So on Facebook, I am Rachael Rocco, Rachael, and Rocco is Rocco. I do have Instagram, I have websites, but let's just keep it plain and simple. That is where I am. You can always message me. My stories are in my book, how I got from A to B. That's always quite helpful. And I am writing another book. I'll always have my head in a book because I love to write. This is about my business, actually. So this next one is showcasing my business, I guess, which my others have been very more personal.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So we'll link all of that up in the show notes so people can come and connect with you on Facebook. And thank you so much for joining me and for all your generosity with sharing your story and your expertise, Rachael. It has been absolutely amazing to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for being here and for listening to this episode of Reclaim Your Voice. If today's conversation resonated, head to the show notes where you'll find my free audio gifts. And if this episode helped you in any way, it would mean so much if you shared it, rated or reviewed the show. That support helps these conversations reach the people who really need them. You can also watch the full episode over on our YouTube channel, and we'll see you in the next one.